Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Critical Thoughts. I'm your host, Braxton Smith. Today is the 15th of September, 2018. Joining me today is Marcus Evans, here to discuss the Calexit movement. He is the founder of the largest Calexit movement and president of Yes California, which is the Calexit movement. And just to break it down, California Exit. It's like Brexit, but with California. So it's their intent to have a secession from the United States. So without further ado, you want to introduce yourself, Marcus?
Hi, America. My name is Marcus Ruiz Evans. I was born and raised in California. I've lived in Northern California, Sacramento, the Central Valley, Inland Empire, Southern California. So I'm very familiar. I wrote a book in 2012 called California's Next Century 2.0. That's what technically started the Calexit movement. The first article about Calexit was in 2013 by reporter Elias, writing about that book. And then in 2014, people discovered the book, reached out to me, and we formed the first Calexit movement. Anyway, it was called Sovereign California in 2014. Fast forward to now, yes, California is one of a couple Calexit organizations, but we are the largest, and we are constantly pushing the narrative. You know, we're the ones that always make it into the news. We're the ones that keep Californians talking. There are other Calexit people, but we're the ones that are keeping Americans talking about how California wants to secede from America.
Okay, so I guess the big question everybody's wondering, why secede?
I'll give you the standard story I always give, and nobody really bats an eye at, whether they're from California or they're from America. I like to do a narrative, so if you could play along. Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine you need a heart surgery, and your eyebrows hanging off your face, and your arm no longer works, and your feet have bunions, and you have trouble walking. And I walk up to you, and I'm like, I'm your cousin. And I go, wow, you look really messed up. You are falling apart. And you say, yeah, I really need to get some surgeries done to fix myself up. I think I could be healthy with a couple surgeries. And fortunately, I have the money right here in my wallet. That's you saying that.
Yeah.
And then while you're saying that, I reach into your pocket, grab the cash out of your wallet and say, I know you need those surgeries, but I have a brand new Ferrari that I want to keep up in pristine condition. I'm perfectly healthy, and I have a Ferrari. You're falling apart, but I'm going to take your money so that I can continue to drive my Ferrari because I really don't care about you. As I drive away in my brand new Ferrari, while you're not sure how you're going to pay your medical bills, I talk garbage about you and to my friends and say how I don't like you. So you're falling apart. I don't care about you. I take your money and then I spend it on things I don't really need because I'm already doing better than you. And then I talk trash on you.
I think I see where you're going with this.
That's what most Californians feel. I can give you the facts. California is a donor state. It has been since 77 or 81, depending on how you look at it. We typically lose 10 to 30 billion dollars. Some years, like 2016, we lost $100 billion funding America. That's paying our federal income taxes after we pay them for things we should pay for. I'm not saying don't pay taxes. I'm just saying California pays around $400 billion. We get back 300. Where's that extra 100 go? It goes to 25 to 35 states in America who, according to the federal government, they need their schools and roads improved. So the federal government takes California tax money and then gives it to other states to help pay for everything, dams, roads, etc. Here's the issue. Federal government rates infrastructure across all 50 subunits, states, if you will. California's dead last. So states that already have schools better than California get money from California to keep their schools better than us. Why are we funding 25 to 35 states that have roads, schools, dams, seaports, airports, bridges, levees better than us? You already have things better than us. Why are you taking our money to stay better than us? How come if we're 49 or 45 out of 50 states for many infrastructure projects, we don't actually get to keep our money and spend it on us? If America was really about taking care of the needy, where's our money? How come we don't get to keep our money for ourselves? Additionally, people always talk about homelessness in California. The federal government's supposed to be giving us, there's called the McKinney-Vento homeless assistance funds. They're supposed to go to whoever has the homeless people. So if Louisiana had 50% of the homeless in America, 50% of that money is supposed to go to Louisiana. Everybody knows California has a high homeless rate and a high poverty rate. We have like 20% of the homeless. We get about 5% of the McKinney-Vento funds.
Oh,
So we have a fifth of the homeless, but we don't get a fraction of the money. So even A, we lose money, and then B, this whole federal insurance network that's supposed to be backing us up doesn't come to town when it's time. So we lose on the money we're supposed to be getting, and we get robbed every year. And then Politico did an article this week talking about how the Republican Party is campaigning on California sucks and it's a horrible place. The entire Republican Party of America is going to campaign on California's horrible and anti-American. That's their campaign theme going into midterms. That's according to Politico. So why would you be okay being robbed, not having people cover your back when it's time and you paid in, and then they talk garbage behind you at every turn? How's that a smart relation to stay part of?
Right, yeah, and I imagine too, probably one of the other big issues y'all have beyond finances, I could definitely see that being annoying, just paying out and hardly getting anything back. But so far as policies, I know there's a lot of policies that y'all want to have that the federal government interferes with.
Thank you. Yes, you're absolutely right, Braxton. The Ninth Circuit Court. So the Supreme Court has subcourts below it. So the states pass laws, and then there's like little junior varsity Supreme Courts. They're called circuit courts.
Right.
And they kind of approve things and say if it's federally legal or not. The Ninth Circuit Court out of California, which approves all the California laws, has the most of its cases overturned of any circuit court. What that means is in all of America and all 12 or 15 circuit courts, the one in California has more of its decisions overturned by the Supreme Court in D.C. than any of the other ones. What that's telling you is California constantly has laws that are just being struck down by the federal government left and right. Strike that down, strike that down, strike that down, strike that down, strike that down. So, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, it's like they've completely forgot the sovereignty of the states. That was actually what I was going to offer as like an alternative. You know, I mean, as a last resort, I believe it was the intent of the founding fathers that the states have the ability to secede, as mentioned a bit in the Declaration of Independence. It was supposed to be a last resort, only under the impression that the federal government became tyrannical. And something I've always talked about is, I'm sure from the sounds of it, you probably have your issues with Donald Trump as a president, right?
We hate Trump out here. Yes, we'll just leave it at that.
Right. Okay. Right.
That Californians hate Trump. Trump, don't come out here. You're not welcome here. I heard you talk about how you're going to move to California. We told everybody in the Calexit movement, if you're watching this video, guess what Calexit said? Come on out here to California, Trump, and we'll see what happens.
Well, see, and that's the thing, though, is that, I'm a fan of Trump myself for the most part. There's a lot of policies I like about him. And then, like with Obama, when he was president, I was freaking out about it. I became more educated and became knowledgeable on why I was freaking out about it. And I think I lost you.
Oh, yeah, right after I made that threat on phone. Not a real threat. The phone cut out for a second. Interesting.
Coincidence? Big Brother is watching. Go back to sleep, America.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, man.
I just want to take a second to say that I love the FBI, NSA, Homeland Security, and all other associated security agencies.
We love Big Brother.
I love Big Brother. I don't think people have the right to privacy. I think spying's awesome. And why do you need the Bill of Rights? Yeah, it says you can't have warrantless searches and seizures, but what do they know, right?
Oh, those frame rates are going through the roof now. Look at that. So,
what do they know?
Anyways, getting back on the point, though. I'm kind of a fan of Trump, but I wasn't a fan of Obama. And here's the thing is, like, obviously, like, the left is freaking out about Trump, but not really too much more than the right was freaking out about Obama. And even, there's death threats So why are we freaking out about our president so much? Like, why is that such an issue with people? And I think we all know that it's because the federal government has become way too powerful. People should not be scared of their president ever, for any reason.
True.
So, yeah, that being said, I think that's probably why your movement's going to take off big time. But I got to say, though, it's kind of interesting. You said there's a bunch of other groups. Why have y'all not come together in one monolith? I guess y'all have some sort of differences or something?
Well, there's two reasons. One, if you put two Californians in a room and you tell them here's a problem the rest of the world doesn't know how to solve or is too scared to even attempt, they'll come up with 25 ideas, and they'll back all of them. So this is an idea culture. Everybody has many ideas, and they'll even compete with themselves on the ideas. So when you say, I have a joke, what's the name of that book? The textbook manual they teach at universities on how to legally succeed successfully? That's right. There is no book. There is no manual. Nobody knows how to do this. So
you're making me feel stupid there for a second. I'm glad it was just a joke.
I didn't mean to do that. I do that to everybody, but it's not an intelligence question. It's that people think, oh, what is that book? And like, there isn't one. We're talking about a subject where there isn't a professor, there isn't a dean, there isn't a, I've studied this for years and here's how you do it successfully. People are guessing. Even the professors who come out and say you can't do this because of this and that, they're guessing on the reasons why you can't do this. So everybody guessed on what's the right way to succeed. Some people felt go for full-blown breaking off from America right away. Some people felt that was too strong. And they wanted to do we don't want to secede, we want to just have more states' rights and kind of more independence. And then some people said, well, even that's too strong. Let's form a political party and gradually lobby and infiltrate the political establishment to gradually coax them to do this. And then other people said, y'all are too slow. We need to go even more radical. Let's change the American Constitution to just allow California to secede. So people had different ideas on how to do it. And a lot of smart people in the Calexit movement who feel that they are right and perhaps everyone else is wrong. And so there's not a whole lot of willingness amongst some in the movement to listen to other strategies. People pick their strategy and they go, this is it. The rest of you are wrong. I'm moving forward with this. And anybody who buys that argument joins that group. Fortunately, yes, California is the most radical of all the Calexit groups and is the most, I don't want to wait, we secede tomorrow if we can. Keep your gradualism to yourself. And we're about 20 times larger than any other Calexit movements, which should tell you kind of where supporters of Calexit are at. They want a radical separation now, overwhelmingly, but not all of them.
Yeah, and it's really not that radical. I mean, it's just like I was talking about earlier. Texas and Montana have threatened secession under Obama's administration, which again comes back to the presidency's too powerful, federal government's too powerful. I think that would be the best solution. Secession also, I think, is totally viable. I kind of wish we'd look more into that and not freak out and understand we have a lot in common.
Close. Totally agree.
Yeah. So, but what I would say though is when there is a secession though, if there was this thing goes through, you're going to be voting on it in November, right?
We're hoping to. We have one initiative that's coming up, and then we're working on filing another one in cooperation with indigenous nations, native people of California. So we're hedging our bets. We're going to file an initiative. If that doesn't work, we have a different one that's formatted differently with new partners that's going to get filed right after that. We're not stopping. We're just going to keep going.
Yeah, because I know Texas and Montana are just shit talking. It seems like you guys are like full-fledged movement. Like this is actually being voted on in November.
We Californians were shocked by Trump, and I think the shock, I'll put it this way. Yes, California in 2014 was saying, Americans don't think like you. That doesn't mean they're bad people. That doesn't mean we're bad people. It just means we're different cultures. They have radically different ideas than you. and that's going to affect your policies. And they do not support, I'm trying to be nice here, they do not support diversity as we Californians embrace it. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Not going there. Just not trying to go there. I hope you see that. And people were saying that's too extreme. You guys are just trying to push divisiveness. Americans think just like everybody in California. We all are Americans. We all share the same values. Well, all that talk died when Trump got elected. And the Calexit movement said, because we've been saying it for 2 years, since Tim Draper filed the Six States Initiative in 2014. And we just went around in 2016 and said, hey, we told you. Been saying this for years. Told you. They do not think like you. Told you they don't share the same values. These are not the same people. And one of the things that we pointed to was that liberals in America say that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. That's only because of California's numbers. You pull out California, Donald Trump won the popular vote. So we tell everybody in California, hey, a majority of America voted for Donald Trump. He won the popular election. If you pull California out, the only reason Hillary won is because of California votes. If Calexit is the concept of not being part of the United States, then what we can say is to Californians is 51% of Americans outside of California said that's our guy. Now, when we say that to Californians, they're shocked. They go, oh, crap. You guys were right? Yeah, told you a couple years ago. Now maybe you're willing to listen.
Right, and while we're on the subject of that too, talking about population and how California can single-handedly swing the vote for the whole country. I mean, it's like I was talking with one of the guys on my team before I came on here. He pointed out the fact that I'm actually from the state of Alabama myself originally. And
I've been there. Beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you think so. There's some good spots. You saw the best part of Alabama, I'm sure.
Very lush. Very lush.
Yes, it is, actually. But, yeah, it was San Diego, he pointed out to me, is about a quarter of Alabama's population. And it's like California itself is like, I think, what is it? They said like there's like one of the top 10 most powerful GDPs in the world. Like it's considered its own country anyway. And it is so influencing. It's like it could definitely sustain itself. And that being said, there is divisions too. And I was wondering what you thought about the North California that's talking about seceding from California. Secession within the secession. It's like an inception of secession. So what?
It's called the Jefferson movement. Yes. I've actually debated Mark Baird, the president of Jefferson, 3 different times on the radio. So if people type in Marcus Ruiz Evans and Mark Baird, B-A-I-R-D, you can see Calexit and Jefferson debate each other.
We can check this out on YouTube, right?
Yeah, go to YouTube, type in Marcus Ruiz Evans and Jefferson or Mark Baird, M-A-R-C-B-A-I-R-D. Very intelligent man. They have a good leader. I'll give them that. I don't agree with the movement, but their leadership is solid. There's some smart people who are good talkers there. I'll give them that. We don't think Jefferson's going to happen for this reason. It's a large amount of land with very few people. And in order to do what they're talking about, they have to have everyone in California agree to it. So even if they got a vote on the ballot, they'd have to get a majority of Californians to say, yeah, we're okay with you splitting off from California. Every opinion poll on the idea of splitting up California has shown that like 2/3 are against it. So they've never had traction. They've only had 2/3 of Californians saying, hell no, I definitively don't want to do that. So they'd have to do that. They'd also have to get Congress to approve of it.
Wow.
And although Jefferson is staunchly supportive of Trump, and the people in the Northern California region overwhelmingly support Trump and voted for him, and they're the only region, I believe, in California to actually do so, where like the rest of California shifted a little bit more left. That was the only region that went a little bit more right. So just to show you where they're at. But people in America don't know that. And they think everybody from California is a hardcore Berkeley sandals wearer, liberal, hardcore liberal. So the way Republicans are looking at this is, oh, we'll let Jefferson split off and form another state, and then they're going to send 2 more liberals to the Senate. That's not true, but people don't know that. They think everybody in California is liberal. And so Jefferson's going to have to convince Californians to let them go and convince Congress that, no, we're not liberal. And we won't necessarily send two liberal senators. They've got a lot of communication they need to do that they haven't done yet before that's ever happened.
Yeah, and I imagine they're probably about your only opposition in California for the secession of California, huh?
They think what we're doing is illegal, which is not true, and that it's unpatriotic.
Dude, it is so legal and it is so patriotic. I mean, founding documents, that's OG there.
Yeah, and that's why I was hoping to come on your show and, talk with people who are in America and talk about the Consent of the States project we're launching at Yes California, where we're doing this, what you and I are doing right now. Yeah, the Calexit movement is focused on ourselves and Californians. And now what we want to do is actually focus on people in America because, as you know, we want to have a peaceful secession, but we can't do that without Congress or the states approving. So now we're going to the final stage of Calexit where we actually start asking people in America, would you be willing to vote for California leaving? And we think that there's a lot of possibility there because Rasmussen, Rasmussen, Rasmussen did a poll, their polling agency, last year. 42% of Republicans across America said, go ahead, California, and leave. 42% of Republicans across America said, go ahead and leave. 30% of Americans across all political spectrum said, go ahead and leave. That was before Donald Trump started fighting California on sanctuary cities. So before sanctuary cities, before that got really aggressive and going, this poll said a third of Americans said, go ahead, don't let the door hit your butt on the way out, and 40% of Republicans said, I'm for it. Well, we want to be aiming to 31 states are currently controlled by Republican legislatures at the state and local level, and that's the majority of the states. If we can get a majority of the states in Republican-controlled legislatures where they already don't like California to say, yes, we will allow you to secede if you get the votes together, we're going to take that back to Californians and say, see, we can do this legally. America will vote for you to go. They don't like you, but we don't have to be enemies and we don't have to not be friends. We can have a peaceful divorce on good terms. It doesn't have to be a angry divorce. We can have a look. It's not working out. I like playing guitar late at night. You like eating Taco Bell at 3 a.m. I'm not into that. You're not into this. Let's just, we'll call it quits. Still be friends and trade like Canada and America. Nobody's talking about Venezuela.
We'll have to. Y'all are imports for China, so.
You get that. Yes, we're not talking about cutting off trade with America. We're not talking about putting up a wall. As our president, we jokingly call Jerry Brown, says, Americans build walls. Californians build bridges. Calexit is about keeping relations and improving them. We just want more power. And we think that conservatives in America can understand that. Wouldn't it be nice in Alabama if they could choose more things that Alabamans want? And if the final decider on debates for what happens in Alabama was the people of Alabama?
Absolutely, down to the local level.
Instead of someone who's like, right now it is people in California deciding what's good for Alabamans.
Right.
How do we know? How do Californians know what Alabama culture is like and what they value? All we get is these stereotypes from Rachel Maddow and CNN. I got to tell you, it's not accurate. I've been there. There's just it's local power.
I was going to touch on what you were talking about earlier, and what concerns me is how you're talking about a peaceful secession. And this is our peaceful way of doing this. And that is what terrifies me at this point, because you hear whispers of civil war. Because we're at a moment now where Americans are diametrically opposed. I mean, we haven't been this divided in decades. And it's only getting worse, and it's becoming a vicious cycle. You're already seeing outbursts of violence, shootings going up, politically motivated ones. I mean, Rand Paul getting his ass beat in his own yard over issues. It's like, I mean, we're at a point now where if we don't address this issue, I would say this is one of our biggest issues, and this is exactly how we absolve it, is provide a safe haven for those on the left. Your liberals. Your safe haven is California. Everybody else, there's the rest of America, and if we got to divvy up between conservatives and libertarians, so be it. But I genuinely believe that this right here, this movement right here, is the only way we peacefully move forward. Because staying together, it's only going to get worse. Imagine the next presidency. If Donald Trump gets reelected, people are going to lose their shit. If Hillary Clinton became president, people are going to lose it. It's just getting out of control. And I think you guys are the means to stop that.
You know what? That's it right there, what you just said. We don't have to fight. We don't have to not like each other. You're from a place that has different cultural values, and you want to keep it that way. I get that. And I'm from a place that has a certain culture, and we want to keep that. Why can't we just recognize that each other's different and work to benefit each other as much as possible with that? Why does it have to be angry and yelling and screaming and getting in your face? I never saw that as productive. I'm a hardcore liberal, but I've gone on Tucker Carlson a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, a couple of times. We've talked. And you know what happens? Tucker agrees with me because I don't try to pick fights over things we don't need to argue about.
Right.
Watch the shows. He'll go, yeah, I can see how you people in California would think that. And I go, yeah, we do. And it's like, once you get past the we don't agree, you can start looking for commonalities in areas where you do agree. When you start going, I'm a different person and I'm a different person, we're not the same. I'm not going to try to make you like me. I'm not going to try to make you in my image. Great. Well, here's two things we both agree on. Why don't we focus on that? And then agree that we're different. And that's our Consent to the States project, is we want to reach out to people like you and say, would you be willing to write your legislator, any of them, not federal, just state. So we don't care what your senators and your Congress members say. This is strictly states. And could you ask your legislator at the state level, in an email, in a phone call, in a letter, in a picture on Pinterest, I think we should allow California to secede if they want. Or I think any state that wants to leave, we should let them go. If the vote came to us in Alabama, Texas, North Carolina, we would vote for you to go. If that's what you really want. Not saying kick anybody out, but if you want, here you go. I mean, is that such a horrible concept?
It's just a basic right of sovereignty. And I don't think you're really going to find too much opposition on from libertarians. I identify as a libertarian. It's almost like the modern day litmus test for libertarians. Like, do you believe in the right of a state to secede? No? Oh, there's the conservatives. Go. But here's the thing, though, is it seems like a win for the conservatives too, because just like you said, they get to run things the way they see fit in the rest of the U.S. I mean, it's like they said, if California secedes, the U.S. is going to run red for the next few decades. So who's your opposition to that? Like, who? I don't see who would be opposed to this.
People in power in California who, people in power are in power because of the way things are, and they don't like change. There's them. And then there's some liberals in the northeast, New York, Boston area who are like, no, we don't want to lose liberal allies. And, I get that. But our message is California fought a good fight. You guys fought a good fight. Americans still elected George W. Bush twice, and they still elected Donald Trump, and they still majority backing out of the Paris Climate Change Accord. Hey, New Yorkers, it ain't working. So why don't you move to California or secede on your own? Because this idea that liberals are going to change America the way they see fit, I think is not going to happen and dangerous. I got to tell you, one of the most dangerous things that I see is Californians saying, not that they're going to back Calexit as a way of dealing with Trump and the fact that a majority of Americans support Trump. Their attitude is, we'll get rid of Trump and then we'll force you to do what we say.
Those are the people that piss me off.
We're going to beat you down and order and make you do this. And, I see exit interviews with Barack Obama, and it's just so sad because he'll talk about how Trump's bad and why things are here. And then at the very tail end of the interview, after an hour and a half of questions, he goes, maybe I pushed it too far, and maybe there's a reaction because I pushed it too far, and maybe I should have reached out to more mainstream Democrats instead of going for super radical things that only the alt-left backed me on, and running on a mandate and saying, tough, 49% of America, deal with it. Maybe that caused this backlash you're seeing here. And I'm like, this is totally like Hillary on the campaign trail. Maybe I made some mistakes. Like, they can't own up to it. They can't take responsibility. I liked Obama's progressive policies, but that's me. You push things down people's throats. They don't like that. And I think Trump's a reaction to Obama, and Obama was a reaction to Bush. And it just goes so radical, and then people are agitated, and so radical, and then people are like you said, it ain't working anymore. It just, you cannot have a government that's stable where someone gets into power and says, I don't care that half of the country doesn't like this, I'm going to push it no matter what. And then things aren't going to blow, and then think, it's not going to melt down right after you're done. I see Californians acting like, we'll take power back and we'll force it, and we'll force progressive policies down the Republicans till they learn their way. And I go, folks, Trump is a reaction to you forcing that on them. You force them even further, someone worse than Trump's going to happen. Like you said, it's getting extreme. I'd like to avoid the point where people start going, maybe my loaded weapon is the only proper response. And I think if liberals keep pushing it, I'm a liberal, I like progressive values, but I also have family who live in Texas and family who live in South Carolina. And I hear about how they respond to liberals pushing progressive policies on them. They are not happy, and you cannot push people into a corner. I think Calexit is the way that we can stay friends. Yeah. And I think trying to keep this union together, you better do what I say, it's going to equal this.
Domestic abuse.
Let's put these away, and let's just go, look, it ain't working. Let's separate now while we still have some good relations. Right. I agree with you. And I hope that midterm elections sort this out. We have a lot of liberals in California who think Democrats are going to win all the elected positions across America because America overwhelmingly rejects Trump because they realize that he's sponsored by a foreign government and just a pure racist. And talking to people like you, I realize that's not true. Not everyone in America hates Trump. I think his approval ratings are now at 47%, according to Harvard University. So he's almost back to where he was right at the election. And liberals don't want to hear that. And their opinion is you were misguided and tricked, and they're going to, better now, and you're going to vote for a Democrat in the midterm elections. Does that sound reasonable to you where you're at? Have you learned your lesson voting for Trump, and are you like, I was duped and I'm voting Democrat at midterm elections? No. Are you saying that? Do you hear your friends in your part of your town saying that?
No,
you tell
they
me.
just double down, man. They're just doubling down.
What?
Yeah, it's like now it's at a point where we're wearing these jerseys, so it's like, now you have people that even when Trump does screw up, and that's something that's been annoying me, getting a little off topic, but you have people that just completely ignore the fact that, oh, hey, we're conservatives and libertarians. Well, Trump just passed a $1.8 trillion spending bill. It's like, no, that's like, that's insurmountable. Like, why are we just brushing that off? Like, that's something we're bashing Obama about. But yeah, it's like, I mean, it doesn't matter what they do anymore. It's just like Trump says, he could shoot somebody on like broad daylight on camera, and he wouldn't lose any supporters. Nobody's going to change their mind on this, and again, the only option is secession. I believe secession or bringing back the federal government. But let's get real. Over the last 50 years, when has the federal government dialed it back?
Thank you. Yeah. I understand we're looking at options, and people go, Calexit's crazy. And I go, the federal government giving up power is crazy. This idea we're going to return to the original 13 states, colonies level of federalism is crazy. They're not going to politically commit suicide. That's what you're asking. It's for everyone in the federal government to go, let's give up all the power we have. And then I hear, on the other hand, so I hear conservatives saying, we'll return to federalism and it'll stop the need for secession. And I go, that ain't going to happen. That's ridiculous because they're not going to give up power. And then on the other hand, I hear liberals say something equally as dumb. No offense, but the liberals say, we'll just get rid of the electoral college. And then the popular vote will win and everything will be fixed. And I go, so you want 45 states to give up the only reason they're meaningful in America is that they get that guaranteed vote in the electoral college, and you'd like them to commit basically political demasculination. And you think that's going to fly. You're going to get 45 states to give up their one reason why anybody gives a shit, what happens in Nebraska. That's dumb and isn't going to happen either. States aren't going to give up power. So we're left with feds aren't going to give up power. States aren't going to give up power. Well, California could leave. The federal government doesn't really lose power. The states don't lose power. You can continue to do what you want, and we move forward. When you look at it that way, Calexit begins to become the only reasonable option to keep us from going to what you're talking about, which I agree, an oncoming civil war. And I know people look at that as jingoistic language, but folks, pay attention now. I totally agree with you. America's more divided than it ever has been. There's many research polls. Pew Research has said the amount of divisiveness politically in America is equivalent to right in 1850 or right before the Civil War.
Wow.
So we literally have scientists wearing lab coats. Well, I don't know if they wear lab coats, but professional polling people saying, wow, last time we saw people hate this much, the other person with the opposite political opinion was 1855. What's that mean? Pay attention, folks.
Yeah,
Pay attention.
Maybe terrorism isn't the biggest threat to America at this point.
It's not. But I'm not going to get sidetracked. That is a distraction for the American people to make them feel like they're one body, and in order to fund the military-industrial businesses. So,
right.
Which Hillary Clinton was part of as much as George W. Bush. That is not a Democrat-Republican thing. That's partly why Californians want to leave. We realize outside of California, Democrats are far too much like Republicans on things that matter.
Yeah, right.
Massive voting for war.
Yeah.
All the Democrats, and all the Democrats who go, we're the resistance and we hate Trump, voted for the spying bill that Trump voted for. You didn't really see that in the news. They talk a big game against Trump, but then when it comes to military and spying on you, they're like this.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's been bugging the crap out of me. It's like, stop making me defend Trump. Like, I don't want to have... This is what you should be beating him up about. Why are we not talking about that? We're talking about things that don't matter.
I'm sorry. I apologize. But it is. It's the federal system. The presidency has too much power. The federal government has too much power. When it really comes to our rights, they're both in cahoots. They'll play a big game, talk major trash on each other, but when it comes to invading a country, authorizing billions of dollars for defense instead of fixing roads and schools, like
trillions, actually. It's about $1 trillion a year. Yeah. Yeah, I keep tabs on that too. What's up?
You're right. And I'm sure, I'm just going to go out on a guess. I bet you there's some not so great schools near where you live. And maybe those kids could have better buildings and better books, but that money isn't going to them, is it?
No. And yeah, hell, I think about all the tax dollars get wasted on wars. It's like shit. I mean, everybody could afford private schools if they weren't too busy shelling out taxes to go pay for these wars.
Germany doesn't pay for wars, and Germany has free college education and quality high schools for everybody. There's like basically nobody that goes without a quality education. They don't have, not everybody's super smart. Some people go to trade schools. Not everybody ends up being a college professor, but everybody's well educated. They take care of their children. And that's one thing that really bothers me is as much of as a progressive as I am, and I don't mind arguing with conservatives, I'm also like, the system punishes kids. Regardless of your political beliefs, how's it right to punish your children? Shouldn't they have a quality education to move forward? And just, it's not happening with the system now.
Yeah, instead they're just saddled with debt. Like grandchildren now at this point. My grandchildren are being saddled with debt. But, all right, so, yeah, to get back on topic, though, just going to finish it out. We got about 5 minutes left, less than. So if you just want to wrap it up, and please do remember to throw your plugins if you got any plugs you want to do. I always forget when I do these interviews, so please remember to do that before we close out.
Go to yescalifornia.org. Our website's been hacked, so it's up and down. We apologize, but you can go to Yes California on Twitter, Yes California on Facebook, and you can find links to everything there. We're working on consent of the states right now. Texas versus White was the only Supreme Court decision on secession. It said a majority of the states can consent to allow a state to leave. So what we're doing is reaching out to people in America, like yourself. Thanks for having me on. And thanks for agreeing that most Americans would back this, that we're asking people in America, call your local elected official, email them or write them, and ask them to allow California to secede because you're a libertarian and you think they have the right, or because you think America would function better without pesky California ideas. Consent of the states at yescalifornia.org. We're reaching out, and we're trying to get people in different states to reach out and make contact with us, and so we can have a cooperation and lobby their elected officials. So our plan is to get 25 out of 31 Republican legislatures that are controlled to support or endorse a bill saying that, or even just a resolution saying this legislature of Tennessee would vote for California to secede if California wants to do that. You're not actually making it happen. You're just saying, if Californians want to do it, we'll back that. We think you have the right. Or they could say, we think any state has the right to secede if those people democratically vote to do that. It's called consent of the states. We've based it on the another program called, I think, the Congress of the States, which is trying to call a constitutional convention. So you'll see a lot of mirroring between our program and theirs. Consent to the states at yescalifornia.org. Contact me at 415-595-3394. That's 415-595-3394. Or Marcus Ruiz Evans, M-A-R-C-U-S, period, R-U-I-Z, period, E-V-A-N-S, at gmail.com. Or go to Yes California and try to contact us.
All right. And just to clarify, do y'all have like a petition that we can sign to?
We do. It's available online, but again, our site's being hacked, so contact us. The petition's there, and we can get you a copy of it. Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, we'll get links. And so far as our state representatives, is that like our governor? Like, who exactly do we need to
anybody who's not federal. So anybody that's at your legislature, your governor, your Secretary of Commerce, as long as they're a state official and not a federal official. We're trying to show that the Supreme Court said you don't have to involve the federal government to leave or secede from America. Texas versus White said consent of the states. It did not say consent of Congress. It did not say a constitutional amendment in the federal government. It said consent of the states, which means the only time the Supreme Court looked at secession, they said, well, if you get 25 state legislators, or 26, California would be the final decider. You get a majority of the state legislatures to say you can secede, you can secede.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, why would you ask your oppressor for permission, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're totally skipping the federal government, ignoring them, don't care what any federal officials say, but your local officials that you trust more than your federal officials, we'd like to talk to them, and we hope you'd be willing to talk to them to say that you support the idea of getting rid of us pesky Californians, okay, or you just believe everybody has the right to determine their future. And how's that wrong?
Yeah, yeah, pretty basic. I mean, ethics 101.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thanks for joining us today, Marcus Evans, founder of the Calexit movement and president of Yes California. And thank you for tapping into Critical Thoughts, breaking through the white noise, bringing the media that matters.